Yes, everything is fine now in YouTube. Yeah, thank you everyone for coming. I am Bogdan Maheros from Data Community United for Ukraine, and today we have our third community day, and we are talking about different technical things. We have 3 weeks, 9 speakers all over the world, and we are talking about business intelligence, about data science, about Power BI, and all other interesting technical things, but not only technical things. We are also talking about stuff that is related to the war in Ukraine. Let me show you this. Like that. So during the marathon, we are collecting funds for our Ukrainian Marine units who are defending our country everywhere. And as you know, Marines are working in really hot places in Kharkiv, Kherson, where you can see active liberation and counteroffensive. And not only there, but all over the front line. So our goal is collecting funds for a copter mattress, which costs $14.5 thousand. So, and the copters, as you know, I guess, are the eyes of our defenders, and they are one of the most required things our defenders need right now. And the donations, all donations are going directly into one of the largest Ukrainian charity foundation, Come Back Alive, which in Ukrainian we call Повернись живим. So even minimal donation is a large investment for our defenders who are at the front line that have needs, and all them have to come back alive, come back home alive when the war is over. So as I said, the conference takes 3 weeks, and all streams are scheduled on our YouTube channel. Channel called Data Community United for Ukraine. And so you can go there, you can subscribe to the channel, and it means there is a little chance that you can miss our events. You can also watch us from LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, but this is not the main channel where we are broadcasting, so it's up to you. But we kindly ask you to go and watch us from YouTube, where we can prepare notifications, right? Notifications for you. So we are also raffling nice gifts. So those gifts are some kind of surprise, but if you want to take part into the raffling, in the YouTube stream, on the top of the description, there is a link to register on Eventbrite. So having your mail, we can go to random.org and find at least 3 lucky people who can win some gifts. So let's start our session. So today we have Ricardo Cabral, but before going to our speaker, we have also Andrea, and we have Katalin, who are joining us during our sessions, and not only them, we're going to have co-hosts during our next 2 weeks. So Andrea, Katalin, you can say anything if you want.
So Catalina and I are just here for the ride to see Ricardo's session about power apps. We are actually very interesting. Yesterday I teased Catalina about using IoT with those power apps. So towards the end, if you want to ask some questions in the streaming chats about these things, Catalin and Ricardo will be able to answer those things for you. So everyone, thank you all very much for being here. Thank you, Bodan, as well. Thank you for every speaker who is here, and especially thank you for everyone watching this. Hopefully this will be interesting for you, and the entire world is watching this. All of the data communities we have in the world are very solidary with this situation. So we hope that we can help in some way. So thank you all very much. And Ricardo, you are going crazy with this session, right? But let's see what Catalin has to say first.
No, I'm just curious to hear Ricardo's session. So, I'll say, well, we're very glad to be here, and we hope that we're gonna make a difference all together. And as Andre was saying, yeah, everybody is watching this, and I'll say we hope to make a difference. But let's hear Ricardo, because I'm really curious.
Yeah, before announcing Ricardo, I want to add that we are also streaming on Power BI on air in partnership. So before the war, we started with Taras's archive, different streams about Power BI, and we could not even expect that the such kind of a war comes very soon. So you can also so it's possible that you're watching us from Power BI on air. So we'll have a lot of Power BI content as well during the next weeks. So you can watch us right there, or find the Data Community United for Ukraine channel. So nothing more. Ricardo Cabral is our today's speaker. He is Microsoft certified trainer. He has experience in Microsoft 365, Microsoft Azure Power Platform, and now he works as an Azure solution architect, if I'm not wrong. He is also a consultant and IT trainer. So Ricardo, your turn. Thank you for coming today. What we're going to talk about today?
Okay, today I'm going to talk about not how to make the power apps, because this is not the training about to make power apps, but how can I get information from data sources that are on premise. So I'm going to make a demo that it is an SQL server, and I'm going to get data from SQL server to an application that lives on the cloud, in this case, Azure. Now I'm going to share my screen. So first of all, thank you to all. Please follow, and also thank you to the Data Community Ukraine. Please follow them. They have Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram accounts. So follow their communities. And once again, just remember, this is Matrice that Rohan was talking about. This is dedicated to the Ukraine Science Foundation, Come Back Alive. This is a drone for the Naval Force of Armored Force of Ukraine. So please scan the QR code you have sent for donations. They will be thanked for that. So just
by the way, you're not sharing your screen, if
I'm
you
not
know
sharing.
that. No, not yet.
But
Usual technical problems. Okay, this happens. Okay, let's fix this for a second. Oh, wait a minute. The screen is here. Great.
Yeah, it's sharing.
Sharing again. So the second time, this can happen, technology. So once again, this was my name, and I think the slide is working. So this was the slide I was talking about earlier, that I want to thank you, Data Community. Please follow. There's all social networks. They are Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter account, Instagram, Telegram. And this is the drone software, call it Matrice, that if you have the sense to give some donations, please scan their QR code and they will welcome. This is dedicated for the Naval Force of the Armed Force from Ukraine. So my name is Ricardo Cabral. I'm from Portugal. Like Bohem said, I'm a technical trainer and normally speak, volunteer, and in communities meetings. So let's talk about power apps. So for those who never touch and see anything about power apps is in the low code developer code. So when I said low code, honestly, we have some code we can add it that will be some formulas like an Excel. Power apps is like a mix of an Excel with PowerPoint and a form that you can drag and drop components and create applications, online applications that live on the cloud. So this will not like an execute applications, and you can run it in a device that communicates with the internet because it's in the cloud. But this is from a platform called Microsoft Power Platform. And Microsoft Power Platform, it have several services like Power Automate to create automation workflows, Power BI to run business analytics, Power Page to create websites. So I can create website and deliver information to my customers and the partners, whatever. We can also create bots with the Power Apps virtual agents. And then they are add-ons service. So we have a database that call it Dataverse. We have AI Builder that I can integrate artificial intelligence to the previous service, and Power FX that is a formula dedicated for Power Apps. Now, this is from Microsoft. This is calling a platform called Power Platform, but this is not the same like a Microsoft 365 service. In a Microsoft 365 service, we going to use a subscription, and we get all the platforms. In Power Platforms, this leaves exclusive separate. So if you're going to use Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI, Power Pages, Power Virtual Agents, Dataverse, AI, that there are several types of license and they are separated. Now, why that Microsoft use and put this all together with Power Platform? Because it has an exclusive database that this comes from Microsoft Dynamics, and this type of service can communicate and use the same database online, so they can share resources. So I can create application that receive data from Power Apps or receive data from Automate, insert it in database, and it creates a Power Page to be used to externally, to our partners, to our clients, to internally, whatever. So this is a platform that we share resources. We can use same things. For example, I can create analytic dashboards from informations that came from Dataverse. And this is the Power Platform. So it is a service like a platform, but we can interact with the same information, same data. So it's not like Microsoft typical subscription that you're going to buy something and will get everything. So this is a great thing. But the focus here is to talk about Power Apps. Now, I said that Power Apps it's a low-code tools, but you're going to add some codes. So this is the real thing. It means that we don't have no codes. No, it's sometimes going to add some fix, some codes, some things, some formulas to add it. It's not no code applications. So, for example, I can add components. I can create components to share to other Power Apps from other communities, other persons internally. I can use this. Now, is this going to be replaced the normal applications created by developers? Honestly, not. This is just a tool to create a fast applications, and anyone can use it. So it doesn't require to be a developer. So like I said, it's like drag and drop, and you can see it. Now, this is not you. Most of the persons, when listening about Power Apps, think this is new product, but this came from Windows 8.1 from a project called Project Sienna. If I'm going to use the old links for Project Sienna, it will redirect with the Power Apps. So this is great. And sometimes Microsoft launch products, even Microsoft persons don't know. For example, Microsoft bought Altspace VR. So this is in the company that create virtual environment, a mixed reality, like Meta for Facebook, and they create maps, and everyone can use Altspace VR for free using a regular Microsoft account. But most persons doesn't know that exists. So I can go, for example, let me just open my Edge browser, can go with Alt VR and try to run a virtual environment like Meta using Microsoft account and also integrate with Teams. So there are a lot of tools that you can integrate with the cloud. And this is amazing. So what type of apps can we build? We have two types of applications. So basically, we have Canvas apps. So Canvas apps is going to use an online editor because this only works online, and you will get the we see quick. That is, what you see is what you get. So it's like using PowerPoint, that are going to drag an image, an icon, a text box, going to put some animations, interactions, and that's it. So the final presentation will be how the user will interact, and the application will be just like this. So it is really easy to use. It has some complexity to do some things because we can customize at our will, and you can use several types of data source. I can use, for example, Dataverse. That is the perfect data source from the Power platform. And normally, Dataverse is going to be the Excel from the future. But we can also use something called connectors that I can interact with other cloud service or even with on-premise service. And we can use internally on the applications. So basically, this type of applications is not to be a public application. This is going to be exclusive internally or for the persons or guest persons on the Microsoft 365 tenant, because this we're going to require a Microsoft 365. We're going to live using Microsoft by search service. Going to use this. So this is a type of applications that I'm going to use, that I'm going to show you, and going to see how I'm going to act. Because there are other type of applications, for example, model-driven apps. So this is most rapid type of building applications, because this is going to live with data from Dataverse. Now, Dataverse is like database, but you're going to include views, forms, dashboards, everything going to be live on the Dataverse. And then that means that I'm going to interact with something that exists and are fixed, and I'm not going to be too much components to use it. So I'm going to interact with only the components that I have. And that means will be a rapid creation and will be interactive. Now, this will also interact with professional tools in professional environments like Dynamics 365. So if I already have Dynamics 365 in the organization, I can get the same data, I can interact with the same service and create applications with the type of data. So this is basically to use internally only, and you can create and use information that already used on the organization. So if this is internally, if Canvas apps is using to internally or to the West users, I need to have something to, okay, if I need to share information to externally, can be a partner, can be a personal client, can be any type of person. So what I'm going to use? The only thing that you can use or is creating a website. So in Power Apps, you can also create a website or can use the new service to create websites. And we can only use the data that exists on Dataverse. So this is like a model-driven app, but dedicated to create an application. This means an HTML5 pages, and we don't need to be required to manage servers, authentications, because all of these are managed by the Power App platform. So this means that I'm going to be use it, I'm going to be define it, and that's it. But okay, one thing I'm not going to be turn this session like a marketing. I'm not going to be talk about licensing costs. I'm not going to be this. So I'm not going to be focused on websites, licensing, model driven. It's just going to be simple with how can I get data from on-premise data gateways. Now, if anyone wants to start with Power Platform or even Power Apps, we can use a plan called Power Apps Developer Plan. This is a free plan with all free. We only need to have a Microsoft 365 account, can be an education account, can be a developer account, can be a trial account, can be a professional account. It's free for everyone. I can do almost everything. It includes a Dataverse for us. So this is the new plan. The old plan doesn't include Dataverse. The only thing that I cannot do is possible to share applications in this that I'm going to create in this environment to our colleagues in the organization. So this is perfect to create, to build, to test. And when I need to share it, I can do is extract the application or extract the environment and publish to the organization environment or to other type of environment that the organization use. So this is great to test, to create, because it's 100% free. It will not cost anything. And it's great to start with Power Apps. So if you want to try Power Apps for the first time, go ahead, click on the link. You just need to have a Microsoft 365 account, and that's it. This will be enabled automatically. You don't need any administrator to approve the license. It will be automatically approved. Now, all of this is great, but how Power Apps going to connect with data source? So this is cloud service. It must have a way to connect with data source. And we have two types of connections, two ways. So the first one is connections or connectors in this case. So connectors, it's like an API, it's like a software that lives in the cloud, not a software, but a thing that lives in the cloud, that are going to interact with another service and you're going to communicate with the environment. So this is the perfect way and means that we can use to connect with several types of data sources. Now, in the connectors, we're going to have three types of connectors. First will be the standard connectors. Now, what is static connectors? Static connectors are connectors that are going to interact with standard service that doesn't require any type of license. For example, if I already have Microsoft 365 and I have service like SharePoint Online, Microsoft List. Microsoft List is like a list on SharePoint, but not. I don't have the need to create a SharePoint site. I have Excel files on OneDrive and all the data source that I can use it because my subscription already have that service. And if I need to interact with Facebook, extract things from Twitter or others, free service or free support service or subscriptions, I can use it with standard accounts because you're going to interact with things that already have, or you're going to use HTTP standard connections, and we don't need to have, you don't need to buy anything else or buy other subscriptions from third parties or other subscriptions from Microsoft. Now we're going to use premium connectors. Now, premium connectors are things that we don't have in our Microsoft subscription by default, or subscriptions that from third parties. For example, if I need to process OCR from an external partner or third party, for example, I can process OCR using Adobe, they are going to need a subscription for Adobe. So this means that the premium connector is going to need something to use. For example, normally in my subscription on 365 World, I don't have any dataverse. If I need to use dataverse, I need to buy a license to use it. So now, what this means? Premium connectors is any type of connection that requires something that is not free, is not standard in a standard connector, or need to require a license to use it. And the third and last one from connectors is custom connectors. So what is custom connectors? Custom connectors are connectors exactly like the others, but is going to be used by developers. If I need to access a data source and that type of data source or service doesn't exist on the standard or doesn't exist on premium, this means I can talk with developer on the house if you have a developer team, or talk with external developers and ask them if they can create custom connectors for us. So this is going to use a service called Azure API Management to talk with an API that developer developed, and then you're going to talk with the data source and return the information. So connectors is one type of information. Normally, this is going to talk with some types of external service. The other way is data gateways. And data gateways is how I can get data from our on-premise environment. Now, in data gateways, there are two worlds. One is on-premise data gateway that normally you can install on servers that it's going to have data source, for example, SQL Server, Postgres, MySQL, and we have in documentation a list, and also on Power Platform, a list of services that are supported. For example, one thing that I can do, for example, using the Catalan sessions, if in my on-premise it has some API that you're going to connect with other service, other hardware, or other thing, the data gateway can also connect with that API and extract information. So it's not only database itself can be used with API developed on the house. The other thing is on-premise data gateway. So this is going to be a personal mode. So this will be a data gateway exclusive on not a personal computer, but on the user only. And the only difference is this only can be compatible with Power BI. So if I am a Power BI user. And I have a Power BI enacted Power dashboards in my computer, and I have all the data stored in my computer. And I want to test an application to get information that is stored on my Power BI. I can install a data gateway on-premise modes, in personal modes, and Power Apps will get the information from the Power BI. But this only works if the computer is online, and this is the personal mode. This is not the right thing to have an application that's going to be used on the organization. So these are how I can get data from several types of data sources. But how this really works, because we have connectors and we have data gateways. They are different. How? And let we see. So Power Apps live in the cloud, and most of the services you're going to use are going to be on Azure. For example, if I'm going to connect with a connector, I'm going to be connect with an Azure API management. So this is the way that we're going to use on Azure. There are other servers as well, but I'm not going to show every type of service that the Power Apps are going to connect and consume. Now, the Azure API management is going to connect with a RESTful API. RESTful means that I can execute commands for create, delete, read, and update. And this cloud here is the connector itself. So this is the connector. And the connector, we're going to connect for standard open service, or it can also connect with on-premise service, because I can create a custom connector that is going to connect with a custom API on the organization, and then going to connect with our on-premise service. This can also be done like this way. Then the return is going to return to the RESTful API. It's going to return to the Azure API management and all the service, and the Power Apps will get information from the service that are in the cloud. So this is how basically a connector will work. So this will talk and touch with APIs that are in the cloud. So these for us are transparent, and this means that you're going to request information. Now, because you're going to request information for a Power App license, that is a limitation of requests. And because of this, we need, when you create a Power App, you need to know what is the limitation that we have on the Power Apps. And that limitation depends on the license that we have. Everyone with have a Microsoft 365 can create a license, can create a Power App in the organization. It's free to use a connector. But if you're going to use Dataverse, that is not a premium connector, so this requires some licensing. Now, about consuming data from a data gateway, that's different, because the communication is not going to use the same way. Now, Power Apps is going to communicate with something called a gateway cloud service. These are several services that exist on the cloud, and this will receive the credentials, the gateway details, the endpoints, everything to connect with our on-premise environment. So we're going to receive everything from Power Apps. Then the cloud service is going to use a service called Azure Service Bus. And Azure Service Bus is a cloud messaging service. So it's going to receive message that, hey, SQL server, I need to have this data from this table, or I need to have this file, or I need to have all the things from our data service. So we're going to ask message, and the communications are with message. So the on-premise gateway receive the encrypted message. We're going to decrypt the message, connect with the data source, then receive the data from the data source. We're going to encrypt the message, the data from several types of message, send it to the service bus, that is a cloud messaging service. The cloud service receive everything and prepares the all thing to Power Apps consume and be used. So everything will be stored on Gateway Cloud Service. So is just to see how we have different types of connections and how this works different. So using connected, it's really easy because you're going to leave everything in the cloud. Using Data Gateway, it means I have to install something in my organization, like some application that is going to receive information from an endpoint, and this will be encrypted. So I know I only need to set up some things in my firewall that will allow everything. And so how I can work, how I can do something. Right now, I'm showing my virtual machine. I'm not going to show my virtual machine. Right now, I'm in Power Apps Maker portal that I can create applications. In Power Platform world, there is one thing called Power Platform Admin Center that I can create, manage users, credentials, and also if I go to data integration, I can see some data source that are already integrated or set on my environment. And I can create a connection set for Dataverse and also for other types of data. I can also have a data preview that will connect with other types of service. For example, I have here on-premise data gateways, and I'm not going to talk about virtual network data gateways, that is on preview, but I can see data source and my on-premise. I already set up my VM. This is a local virtual machine that I have. I have here this running on an Hyper-V. So if I show here, not this, I'm running in my local PC on my home. So I'm connecting in my home. This is not running on the cloud, not running on a virtual machine on the cloud, only here. I have 3 virtual machines, one in the cloud, this is the Hyper-V, and I can click here, see if they are connected, they are enabled, and I can use it. If I need to add a new one, I can simply create a new. I can create a data source from the cluster, but this type of definition is only to be used for Power BI. Now, there are several ways to integrate with the on-premise data gateway. Here I can click here, install added, but from the data source, or if I need to create, for example, I need to set up a data source with one type of name, then it's needing loading because it's going to get information for my computer. And this is just to show you the types of service that I can integrate. Now, I don't have Amazon Redshift, Net Asana, Net Azure DB, but I can use, for example, files, folders, and other database that I can use on premise. MySQL, OData, ODBC, OLEDB. So these are things that I can have in on-premise environment. So I can set, for example, a data gateway dedicated for Power BI to consume this information. So this data preview, I'm going to discard, is to set up the on-premise data gateway for Power BI. Now, this is the reason that is calling a Power Platform, because you can set up one thing that you can use it to Power Apps, Power BI, Power Automate with some service on the platform itself. So because I already have here my setup default, I'm going to move to my Power Apps portal. And in Dataverse, I have here gateways. So here I can create a new gateway, and I already have the same information from the admin center because this will be set. So I don't need to set up the same gateway for Power BI, the same gateway for Power Automate, the same gateway to Power BI because this will be used. And to install a new gateway is not difficult. For example, I'm just going to create a new gateway. I need to make a download from I can simply copy the link here, from the on-premise data gateway. I can go to a Windows server, or simply, if I'm going to show you what Windows I'm running here. So I'm running Windows 10. So the gateway can be run on Windows 10. And this is great. So I don't have the need to have a specific Windows server for that. I can simply make the downloads. So download the gateway. I already have the download made it. So let me just cancel. And I can simply run the setup, install the gateway, and the installation already failed because I already have the setup done. So I'm not going to run the same thing again. So because I have already the gateway set up and running, let me just execute on-premise gateway. So this will be run as a service. So I don't need to run manually. Every time that I run the computer, start the computer, the gateway will run. And one thing I need to do is to click here only one time to set up the sign-in. So I'm going to click the sign-in. I'm going to insert my Microsoft 365 user account and the password, and that's it. What I can do, if I have some problems, I can restart the gateway. I can make some login and diagnostic. For example, I can test the ports. I need to sign in to test the communication from my on-premise environment to the Azure Cloud Service and Microsoft Cloud Service to see if I have something that can be blocked by the firewall. And in organization can be a virtual firewall, can be on a virtual appliance firewall or a physical firewall. So you can have several layers of security. And also, this is extremely important that the encryption must to be encrypted. So I need to have HTTPS mode. And the connectors that I can use, that's going to use a custom data connectors. So basically it's like a connector. And these are the service that will be running. So this is the default service name that will be running in background. Run for this. So I already have the gateway running. That means I can access, I can use an application. So here I have one database, call it to-do list, that have a table, call it to-do -list, the same name. If I select any row, I don't have anything to view because it has empty. So I don't have any. So, but I can use this same database to get information from here. So what I'm going to do first, so I can create a value. Simply, let me just paste this correctly. Just to be so the table don't be empty. So now I'm getting a value with item, creating an item with 20 minutes. So this is going to be a to-do list. And I'm going to now create a Power App application to connect and graph that data. Not only graph the data, but edit or save the data. Now this is the beautiful part, because I can use the full CRUD operations with our SQL database. Now to create an application, I can simply click here to create. And I already have some templates that I can use from database, that's for Dataverse, SharePoint, Excel, SQL. This image, this is almost something new. This is, I can draw an image or using Paint, Microsoft Paint or other type of editor, draw a form, and this will convert the image in a form. But one thing that I can use is I can start an application from a real SQL database, or I can start from blank. So let we see what the Power Apps Maker going to do if I'm going to select a real database. So I have my servers here, and I have my SQL to-do list. Now, how can Power Apps know this? Now, it doesn't know automatically, of course. I need to do something. So before I can create an application, let me just cancel. I need to register the gateways. So here, sorry, not this one. I already registered the gateways. And the connection is going to call a to-do list hyphen space MS5. Now this is the name that I give it to Python. So if I need to create a new gateway, I can simply register here, create, and then register the gateway connections. So in the connections here, I can create a new connections and then select SQL. And this is the connections that are going to integrate with my SQL server. Now I can select as a SQL on Azure, a SQL server with authentication that are going to define the name, the SQL data words, the username, the password, and choose what is the gateway I'm going to use. I'm not going to put here the credentials, of course. And I can also create with Windows authenticator that can be shared or non-shared. With this, this means if I create this type of connected, and if I'm going to share this connection, because I can go to the custom to the gateways, select and share the gateway to another person in the organization. This means that that person can do everything with this connection. That means that he's not going to access the password, but he's going to do everything because the credentials are going to be shared with that person also. So if I want to share this connector, but I want that they use their own credentials, I can create, again, new connection, SQL, non-shared authentication. So the user is going to receive this, and then they're going to insert their username and their password for this connector. So this means that our on-premise data gateway normally is going to use a connector also, but it's going to interact with our on-premise environment. So this is the reason when I create a SQL, I need to have first the connector itself, and these are the connectors that I can use for SQL. Now I'm going to select the to-do list, and he knows that I already have this table. I'm going to select the table, connect, and it's going to create automatic an application with some forms already and with the setup connection, and you're going to create automatically. What I can do then, I can simply edit the form. So I have two screens. One is the browse screen that I can see the information on the table. I have one detail screens that I can view the details for each item that I can select from the browse screens. And I have an edit screen that I can change the information from the item that I select the browse screens. So if I run the application from the play button, let me just start from the beginning, because when I click here, he will start from the screen that I am running right now, that I am selecting. So let's click here, and these are the tables. If I click create a new item, I can simply item hello, minutes, insert, click, and he creates a new item. Now, does it really create on the database? Let me check. Okay, I have the same, let me just let this, I have the same query. Let's execute again, and it does. It really saved a record in a SQL server that are my machine and Hyper-V and connected with Azure itself. Let's close this and return to the server. So this is really great. So it automatically creates the 3 screens to CRUD operations. So this means that I can also select, I can view what it is, I can also view, and this is not good, so this can be 10 minutes, and save it. And this will update. Can also delete. So let's delete one and edit the other one. And we can do this things. We can create a new screens. I can edit from screens, and I can also change everything. For example, one thing that that I can change, this has some formulas. This is use our FX formula. For example, this is showing me the item column. These are showing the minute column, and if I need to change this to other column that I have, I can simply click here and add it. For example, complete is false, is not completed. So the task needs to be done. And this is the power that the Power App gives to us. We can automatically change in a button. For example, if I don't have the knowledge to create something like this, edit the formula, I can simply select here, edit the fields, and select the fields using the user interface. So we have the 2 roles, and these are great. And for example, if I want to submit a form, I can create things that to do a refresh. For example, this is going to be a new form. So this is going to run the edit form, is this, and this is an action to save the information. If I need to refresh the data, I can simply create refresh. This is a formula. And I need to edit my connector data source. So the template already set up my data source. I can go here on data and select the data source. So these are the name. So in this case will be DBO to the list because the name. And this will do an automatic refresh from the data. Everything that I'm going to do, I can do this. Then I can do so much things like if it has any error, fill any fields, I can give an information. I can also create pop-ups. I can return from previous screen or can move to another screen and do everything else. Because we have already some components, for example, in the insert, that I can insert several types of components. I can insert screens. Where is the screen display? This is the elements. Let me just zoom it a little bit. I have here new screens. I have allowed from blank, but already have some screens that I can already pre-fill it. So list, tutorial, success, email, people. So I can create, for example, a success screen. If it was success from the send anything or save a new record on database, I can pass to this screen, make a delay, and then return to the raw screen. We can do this. Now to this, I need to have some coding. So this is not a no-code platform. We need to add some code for this. And this is really great. Now, one thing that we need to know is the power of delegation. Why? I can access data source from Excel, from a CSV file, and that is not a real strong data source. And because that is not a real strong data source, we're going to have something called a non-delegable queries. That means that we're going to have a small data set. So when we have a Power Apps that are going to communicate with an Excel file on OneDrive, normally a user make a search. The files need, okay, I need some data, and normally they return the first 500 records only. This is limitation because on a small data set, all data are run in memory. Now, one thing that I can do is possible to change the raw limited from 1 to 200 from non-delegate service. So, for example, if I increase the record limit to 200, I can do the same thing. Ask, I need the following data, return only the first 200 memories. But if the computer only has, for example, 4 gigabytes of memory, and it has other process, other applications that are consuming memory, the browser can crash because everything is put on memory on the browser because you're going to use the browser from this type of applications. So in this type of scenarios, we need to have very careful with this because we can have computers with too much memory. For example, it has 32 gigabytes of memory. That is the reason that I work with Hyper-V. And we can have other type of data sets that will be a delegation data set, and this will be normal data source that can be going to work. It has an agent that will be run and process the data. For example, SQL Server, Oracle, and other types of that kind of data source. So this means will be have a delegation. So when the user going to search, Power Apps is lazy. It's going to say, oh, it is a delegation. So I'm going to demand, I'm going to need to have this type of data with this type of filters, with these types of functions. So what I can do to define some search, I can use, we have in PowerFX, in the formula from Power Apps, some filters and functions that we can use to create a query. In this case, it's going to return, for example, 10,000 of records, but this is not going to put 2,000 records in memory because this is too much. The browser can crash. Now, what you're going to do is to put a batch of 100 records for each time. So I have to have each time that I've scrolled 100 records, you're going to add 100 more. So this is to avoid memory corruption from the browser. And this is a reason that sometimes of the traverse we are stuck with 500 or 200 of records, and only the first of the query. We can have not more, but we have data, large data source. We can use allegations, and here is some example. Data, words, dynamics, Salesforce, set point, SQL Server. But one thing is important: not all functions or operations from the formulas will be available for Dataverse or for SQL. There are some functions or operations that cannot be used, but that means that we're not going to be use delegation for these scenarios. For example, okay, in my database, right now I only have one record, so I can delete from the view dot to do list. So let's clean the table and let's add it 10,000 of records. Now I'm not going to insert 10,000 records for these times. I'm going to use a bulk insert. I already have a script here. Let me just go. I have a CSV file. I can open this one. So let me open with Excel just to show you. So I already have a CSV file from the first item to the 10,000 item. So this is the last one. And I have already a SQL query here that I will grab from the CS file. I'm going to ignore, this is going to be format. I'm going to ignore the header. So this will be run from the second line. And I have the terminator and the raw delimitation to be to the next line of the CSV. So let's execute this and already added. That's really great. That's the power of the database. So if I select now, I have already the all items here, and I can grab the same data from the application. So if I'm not going to change anything, I'm just going to run the application, and that's it, and it run. Now, how many records does it run? Let me just change here a little bit, and I'm going to add a type of counter. So let me add here a text file, a text label here, and let's see how many rows that the gallery is counted. So we have from here count rows, and I only need to add the sorts that I want to count. Now these are saved on a browse gallery one, and this is the sorts that I'm going to use. Browse gallery one, but I need to count all items that are loaded. So in this case, all items. And now I have 100 records available. Now, now this is not in the correct order because these are descending from ascending. This is not a numerical table. If I need to change this, I can simply swap this. So as you can see, everything is possible to be changed. This is records. If I need to run, I will press. So 110, I have 100. So I need to move one. Now I have another batch of 100. Now I have 200. So this is the delegation. I'm not going to receive the 10,000 of records, and the speed are really great. So I'm not going to, I'm not have any delays. I'm not having to have anything of this. And these are really great to make things. So it's very important to know these things, to know what type of database I'm going to use, and also delimit it. So one thing you need to know about using data gateway. We have a payload from memory that you can go to read operations and write operations. We also have a count limited when you get some information. We have the limitations, and we cannot install in this type. We cannot install a gateway in a container window. So if we have server core, Windows Server Core run on a container, we cannot do this. This must be installed on a virtual machine or an bare metal machine. Then we have something that we can have some mistakes for the first time. The first time is if you don't set a primary key on the table, is not going to identify the data, and you can edit or add it or change anything from the table. The galleries will be like only read view or only read information. We can only consult information. So it's very important and mandatory that the tables have some primary key. If they don't have, we cannot insert data from the table. If we have tables that are with foreign keys and that things, this is compatible. I can add data to foreign key tables also. I need to also identify, say what the table I need to use, and the Power Apps will do their magic. It's really great. So we don't have to create or develop anything. Now, Power Apps can also not communicate it for the first time. So SEC, they are security appliance. SEC, if you don't disable the service. So if I disable this service, if I go here and disable the service on the machine, this will stop working because it's working on live, real life. So it's important. And also you can check the Azure speed. This is the internet we can use for check the speed from the Azure service to see if you are going to have some latency or not, depending of the zone. So in my Microsoft 365 are located in Europe, so I don't have too much latency for Europe's data centers. If it was located in America, I can have a lot. If it was located, for example, in Korea, I will have more locations. So this can be extremely important if one of our employees from the organization, colleagues, whatever, is located from a reason that is not the same reason that the Microsoft 365 was defined or the environment was defined, because when I create an environment for make apps, I'm going to set what type of reason that I have. If I have a reason far away from the data centers, I will have latency, and that is normal. It's like the reason is Europe, my SQL server is in America, so I have latency. That is normal. So it's great. If you're going to use this in a laptop, you can use it with Windows tab. Don't enable hibernation mode, because hibernate will disable the service, of course. And we have tools. So I don't know if I have any questions available. So
I was actually
here
just...
is a question. The question about the security perspective. So the Power Apps can do the write back into the database, right? And so at the back end, it's running under, let's say, the SQL user that has limited rights. at the Power Apps cloud, right? It's implemented in some other way, but what are the security considerations are about, for example, writing back to the database using Power Apps? So what the developer should take into account to make the process the
I understand.
maximum simple and correct from the security perspective?
I can connect with the database using a Windows account, or I can create database using a user database account. If I'm going to use a user database and that user has some restrictions, the Power Apps will get that restrictions. If I'm going to use an Windows administration account, and if that user don't have any restrictions, there's the same administration like SQL Server, I can do everything. So I have no limitations. Now in Power Apps, in Admin Center, I can also add some security from the application. I'm not in the right environment. Yes, I am in developer. So I can define security from the users, what it can do, what I can say. So in the permission level, I can do this. But on the database level, will be the CDBA, or can do things that can block that this user cannot edit that table, or this user can only view that table or cannot insert things. So this will be on the database level, because this for the database is he doesn't know that is application. He know that is a user, or from the database itself, or from domain, or from the Windows, for example.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So I guess it could be also a question to Andreas, since we got used to his sessions about how to hack SQL Server, but we didn't see a session how to hack Power BI. I guess it could be a very interesting one, but not sure how it makes sense from the cloud perspective. But
So I've actually considered that option, and with Power BI, one of the things I wanted to try and hack would be the row level security. But strangely enough, it actually works kind of okay. So it's not that, but I did try to have a look at some of the other contents in Power BI, and one of the things that you can do is to actually extract the data that you receive, gradually from the servers all the way up to the web pages when you are showing them. So that is technically possible to extract stuff more than the stuff you are supposed to, but it's not enough to say wow in kind of that way. But maybe we can do a session together to hack one of those eventually.
This will be really funny, because I can interact with data gateways in other sources. So one thing that hackers can do is try to find privileges and to make data exfoliations. So if I have privileges, if I can do applications that can communicate with the data source, I can extract or see and do anything. So this is real danger, to be honest.
Okay,
yeah, so because if you work with some application that is written on the on premises, yeah, and so it's one thing. But if you say to a customer that there is some Power Apps application that has access to the backend of the database, so people can have questions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we don't have any more questions about that. So I can see Katalin. So thank you for coming today as well. And let me just show this thing, I guess. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and to press notify button, since we have 2 more weeks and we don't want you to lose the information, and we don't want you to lose the sessions from our amazing speakers. So anyway, thank you everyone for coming today, and it was great session. So Power Apps is something that for a lot of Power BI developers is some kind of like black box, but not everyone had a chance to take a look at it and implement it on the project, maybe because of the costs that Microsoft implements for Power Apps or any other reasons. But this the thing that you should take a look and have some brief experience, right? So thank you, everyone. Thank you for the speaker for that session, and Andrea and Katalin, thank you for coming today. And community has to be community, and it works in this way. I hope to see everyone very soon in Ukraine at SQL Saturday at our local user groups that in Ukraine we have a lot, and in Lviv as well. So see you the next week, and thank you for coming.
Okay. Thank you very much for organizing this. Thank you everyone for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Everyone else.
So do not forget to subscribe and hit also the notify button, because this will help these events to have a wider audience.
Yeah, and don't forget about this matrix copter that we are collecting funds, and this is the eyes for our defenders. They have to come back alive, and we believe that the war will finish soon. Soon means something that is very difficult to explain what soon means nowadays, but we believe in that, and it will work in this way. Thank you. See you very soon.
Thank you all.
Bye.